Alaikum. Hope everyone is well. Hope everyone had a beautiful Yontif, beautiful Sidorim, beautiful Shabbos, and I hope Pesach is going good. Again, I'm recording this a little before Pesach, so I don't know where we're holding right now in terms of 10, 11, 12 days later, but as Hashem, everyone is doing nicely and well. We find ourselves in the middle of Chag Pesach, and I wanted to share a thought. It's interesting. The Torah, when it refers to this Yontif, it does not refer to it as Chag Pesach, Passover. That's really Erev Pesach. Yud Daled Nisan, when we bring the Korban Pesach, that's known as Chag Pesach. The Torah refers to these days as Chag HaMatzos, Chag HaMatzos. Moreover, if you look at the Rambam in Hilchos Pesach, he doesn't call it Hilchos Pesach. There is a Hilchos Korban Pesach, but he calls these days, the halachas of these days, he calls them Hilchos Chometz U'Matzah. And if there's any theme that dominates the Yontif, it's matzah. And that's the mitzvah at hand. The Gra says that the mitzvah of Achilas Matzah is not just at the Leil HaSeder, but every single kazayas of matzah that you eat over the entire Chag is a mitzvah. And after we've passed the drama of the first day, of the first night, where we have the mitzvah of Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim, we have all the other mitzvos and the moror and the charoses and everything else, at the end of the day, once we pass the first day or two of Yontif, so we're downgraded to a Chatzi Halel, and we're basically holding by Chag HaMatzos. That's what we're living with. We're living with matzah all day. A negation of chametz, the affirmation of matzah. So what exactly is the idea? What's the message of matzah? What's a message of matzah? So it's interesting. When you think about matzah itself, you'll note that the relationship between matzah and chametz is a very, very tight relationship. The Gemara tells us, for example, Maseches Pesachim, that the only type of matzah that you can use to be yotzei, the mitzvah of achilas matzah the Leil HaSeder, is a substance, is a matzah that has the potential, haboli de chimutz. If this thing does not have the ability to become chametz, it's invalid for matzah. So, for example, if you make rice matzah or millet matzah, they don't have the ability to become chametz, so therefore they're invalid for matzah. Matzah must have innately underneath potential chametz. Similarly, chametz, to be halachic chametz, also has to have, on a kares level, on a doraisa kares level, has to have potential for matzah. The Gemara tells us that if you have chametz that comes out of fruit juice, you knead flour with fruit juice and you make some kind of bread, it's aser for sure. It's aser not Torah. But the iser kares is only the type of chametz that has potential for matzah. And therefore, if you have what's called matzah shini losha b'mei peiros, that's not valid for the mitzvah of matzah, and therefore that's not going to be the iser kares either. In other words, matzah chametz matzah is potential chametz. Chametz is that which could become matzah. It's interesting, even when it comes to the people that are obligated in the mitzvah of matzah. One might argue, the Gemara tells us in Maseches Pesachim, that a woman should be exempt from the mitzvah of matzah. After all, it's a time-bound mitzvah. It's a mitzvah seishas man groma. Yet the Gemara says no. Why? Because kol sheyeshno bebalto chal chometz yeshno bekumechol matzah. Anyone who has the yisr of chometz must have the mitzvah of matzah. You can't have one without the other. Chometz and matzah are alter egos. They are flip sides of each other. One is the alter ego of the other. Latent in matzah is chametz. Latent in chametz is the potential for matzah. So a woman, impossible that there be an isser chametz and not a mitzvah of matzah. The two go hand in hand, they go together. So what then is the difference between chametz and matzah? So the difference between chametz and matzah is one thing. Ingredients are exactly the same. Flour, water. There's only one difference. Chametz is potential matzah, flour and water, that's left to sit. And when you leave it to sit for a mere 18 minutes, it starts to rise, it starts to get puffy, and it becomes chametz. If you are kneading the matzah, working the dough, working it, so then it can never become chametz, even if you're working it for hours. If you're working it, if it's involved, if it's active, it will not become chametz. It only becomes chametz when it's left to sit for 18 minutes. Time is the difference between matzah and chametz, between the exalted mitzvah of matzah and the Isser Kares of chametz, but not just time. Time left sitting fallow, time left doing nothing, time just sitting. That's what engenders chametz. And it's interesting, Pesach of all Chagim, time seems to be like a message. We all know that the Gemara tells us, the Pasuk tells us that Hashem took Bnei Yisrael out kechatzos halayla, but the Gemara makes clear, do not think that he took them out kechatzos. Hashem knows kechut hasa'ara, he knows exact timing. It was bechatzos, it was chatzos halayla, on the dot. We were taken out b'chipazon, with alacrity, with energy. We rushed out, doing, time, moving, process, geula. That requires an amazing use of time. And I think one of the tests, one of the nisyonos that we are all confronting right now is, for the first time perhaps in most of our lives, we are sitting with all of this time. Most of us perhaps can't go to work in the regular fashion that we do. We're not in our yeshivas, we're not in our daily schedule. We're finding ourselves sitting at home. And we have all of this time. And that time is, on the one hand, one could look at it as there is a gift in having all this time to do things that you couldn't do before. On the other hand, how do we go ahead and channel our energies into that time? That's perhaps the test, the challenge of the chametz matzah divide. The message, one of the messages of Chag HaMatzos, of Hilchos Chametz U'Matzah, is to do things with energy, do things with alacrity. Do not let things just sit, pile up, become chametz. That's a very profound message as we are searching for ways to learn lessons, draw lessons. What does Hashem want from us during these unique and trying times? Probably to take this time, take stock, think about who we are, what we are, to go ahead and use our energies to the best that we can in the most productive way. I had a Talmud asked me, he has all this time, he wants to give, he wants to help, he wants to do something. So he took on a beautiful project, and he took on the project of reaching out to elderly people who perhaps cannot be exposed to others, and just talking to elderly people, FaceTime, Skype, what have you, and creating a whole network of youngsters that are reaching out to older people to use time, this time that we have, in ways that we've never thought that we would have, and never thought we'd be able to somehow channel in some direction, to channel it in productive ways. It's a big nisayon, not easy. Bez Hashem, we will be omid b'nisayon, learn the lessons of Chag HaMatzos, Chag HaPesach, and come out of this tzara stronger, better, and Mirz Hashem, more capable. Have a wonderful Shabbos Kodesh.